Empowering others to excel with your host, Jacqueline Job. Empowering others to excel with your host, Jacqueline Job. Are you ready to be transformed? I'm here to uplift, encourage, motivate, and inspire. Empowering others to excel with your host, Jacqueline Job.
Good morning, everyone. I hope you all are well today. I hope you all have had a good day. Thank you for tuning in to Empowering Others to Excel. I am your host, your empowerment strategist, Jacqueline Jobs. Thank you for those who are tuning in and listening from WMEG, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Good morning, good morning, good morning. So, we're going to jump into today. Hopefully there'll be no technical difficulty today. Instagram, I believe I have you today. I can see your comment. So if you're there and you want to comment, feel free to comment. So once again, good morning. And I'm going to put out a disclaimer. I am a certified life coach. I am not a therapist. So all the views and perspectives that I am giving is from the perspectives of a certified life coach. And now, if you need a therapist, please feel free to seek out a therapist. But I am here to uplift you. I am here to motivate you, inspire you, and to push you to your next level. That is what my job is. That is what my mission is. So tune in with me every Saturday at 9 o'clock live here on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and WMEG. Why? Because I am here to hold you accountable. So let's get into today's topic, everybody. So good morning, good morning. Today's topic, we're going to be talking about how to become an overcomer. How to be an overcomer. How to be an overcomer. All right. So last week we talked about false hope, nearing the finish line, knowing when breakthrough is truly near. That is what we talked about last week. Now, this week is going to be how to be an overcomer. But from last week, our key takeaways were breakthroughs don't always look like we expect them to look. So I want you to remember that they don't always look like we expect them to look because we might be working towards one thing, but then we have another result. And we're like, does that tie into each other? Just remember, they don't always look the way we expect them to look. All right. Next one is sometimes setbacks are actually redirection. Sometimes setbacks are actually redirections. So, what does that mean? That means when you have an obstacle, you have a trial, and you have you re, you Lord, can't even get it out. And there's a stumbling block. There's a setback. Don't think of it as, oh, this wasn't for me. Think of it as a time for you to stop, reflect, see what is going on. Look to see what is going on, and then try to figure out how you can maneuver around that obstacle. So remember, setbacks are actually redirection. And then the last point from our key takeaway from last week is even when the finish line feels like delayed, progress is still happening internally. Because remember, last week we talked about it has to happen internally before it is shown externally. So all of those things that you are working towards, there has to be something internally happening to yourself, meaning as far as your mindset being changed, meaning your heart is being open, you're allowing people in, you're forgiving others for things that happen. You're forgiving yourself. You're giving yourself grace. You're learning about gratitude and appreciating what you have. So, those are things you have to remember. It all starts internally first before it can manifest itself on the external. So, those were our key takeaways from last week. Now, for today's topic, how to be an overcomer. The goal of today is to understand what it means to be an overcomer, recognize obstacles that hold you back, and learn strategies that are going to help you to rise above the challenges with resilience and purpose. So that is our mission for today. Okay. Now, an overcomer is not someone who faces battles. It is someone who refuses to stay defeated. Because you might hear people saying, I am an overcomer. I am an overcomer. Especially if you go to church, you hear it, I am an overcomer. I overcame this obstacle. And what are they talking about? Because you're probably looking like, what are they talking about when they keep saying, I am an overcomer? That means they came over, they refused to be defeated when an obstacle came their way. They refused to be defeated when the enemy tried to distract them. They refused to be defeated when people on their job was trying to persecute them. They refused to be defeated. They figured out ways to get around that. They figured out ways to rise above it. That is what an overcomer is. That is what an overcomer is. So that is what we're going to talk about today. Now, we also talked about this a few weeks ago. We talked about surviving and thriving. Now, while we're talking about being an overcomer and changing our mindset, we're going to also be tapping into if you're in survivor mode or if you're in overcomer mode. And survivor mode is I made it through. I made it through. Overcomer, I rose above and I grew stronger. Survivor, I made it through. Overcomer, I rose above and grew stronger. So I want you all to think about that. I want you to think about that. Yes, I want you all to think about that. I was just checking to make sure that my chats are working. Checking to make sure that my chats are working. So if you are following along, if you are here this morning, you're on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, just drop a good morning in the chat so I know that you are here and that I know all of my technology is working today because I want you to go along with me today. Today, I want you to also grab some paper and a pencil because you're going to be taking some notes. You're going to be taking some notes. She's going somewhere. Good morning. I see you. I see you. I see you at she's going somewhere. Okay, so I'm not getting my chats from Facebook or YouTube today, but we're going to keep working. It's always something. All right, so we're going to move on. Now, traits of an overcomer. Traits of an overcomer. Traits of an overcomer. Up. All right, here we are. We're back now. I got it. Traits of an overcomer. I see all my chats now coming in. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Now, first thing you need to know, these are some traits that you should have as an overcomer. I want you to take out paper and pencil because I want you to write down. If I say a trait that you have, write it down. But then if I say a trait that you don't have, I want you to write it down and then try to write what the meaning of that trait is so that way you can continue to build and grow. So first one is resilience. Resilience. The ability to bounce back after setbacks without staying stuck in defeat. So if you are resilient, that means you can bounce back. That's basically what it is. So imagine you have a bouncy ball. You throw the bouncy ball at the wall. What's going to happen? Is that bouncy ball going to hit the wall and it's going to slide down the wall? Or is that bouncy ball going to bounce right back at you? The bouncy ball is going to bounce back at you. That bouncy ball has resilience, and that is what we need to have. We don't need to be the ball that you hit it and it slides down the wall. That means it has zero buoyancy. We need buoyancy. We need to be able to bounce back when situations arise in our life. We don't need the situation to hit us and then we just flatline. We need to be able to bounce back. Like, okay, you gave me your best shot, but guess what? I got something for you. That is what resilience is. So if you have resilience, I want you to write that down. Next one is faith and optimism. Believing things can get better even when circumstances look bleak. Now, do you have faith? Now, sometimes when we say we have faith, our faith can waver. Yes, you can have faith and your faith can waver. Because in the word of God, it says all you have to have is faith the size of a mustard seed. And if you know what a mustard seed looks like, it is very, very tiny. So we can have faith, but yes, our faith will waver. Good morning, Nikki. But I want to know if you have faith, you believe things can get better, even when circumstances look bleak. So, yes, this is my situation right now, but it's going to change. But it's going to get better. I'm working towards this, so I know it's going to get better. That is what having faith and optimism is. Next one is courage. Remember, you are writing down the traits that you have, and the ones you don't have, you are writing out the definition so that way you can grow and you can understand what it is that you're lacking and build upon it. Next one, courage. Facing fear head on instead of letting it control the decision. Facing fear head on instead of letting it control the decision. Do you have courage? Are you able to speak up for yourself? Are you able to stand up for yourself? Are you able to make these decisions that are going to better your circumstances? Do you have courage? Next one is persistence, refusing to give up even when progress feels slow. That means you're going to be like the Energizer Bunny. It keeps going, it's keep going, it's keep going. That is what you need to be when you're being persistent. You need to continue to go, continue to move, continue to do, even though what you are working towards seems like it's not in reach. I want you to continue, continue. That is being persistent. So, do you have persistence? Next one is adaptability, adjusting to change and finding new ways when the old way no longer works. This is where people say, I'm stuck. I'm stuck. And when they say that, this is because they had a schedule or they had an outline or they had an idea of what it is that they were going to do. But once that fell apart, it was like, I don't know what to do now. That is when you say, I'm stuck. But if you have adaptability, that means you have the mindset, the knowledge, the understanding, the wisdom on what you need to do to get out of that position where you feel stuck. You know that you can always deviate from the plan and still reach your goals. So that is what you have to have for adaptability. Next one is self-belief, trusting in one's ability to grow, learn, and handle challenges. Self-belief. Do you believe in yourself enough to do XYZ? That is what self-belief is. So that's sometimes you got to ask yourself, do I believe myself enough for this? Like, can I really do this? That is self-belief. Trusting in one's ability to grow, to learn, and to handle challenges. Next one is emotional awareness. Emotional awareness, recognizing feelings instead of suppressing them and using them to fuel your growth. Recognize your feelings. So that means when I say recognize your feelings, that means you are acknowledging your feelings. I am mad. I am frustrated. I am overwhelmed. You're recognizing them. You can acknowledge them. And then after you acknowledge them, you use them to fuel your growth. Meaning, I'm mad. Okay, so why are you mad? I'm mad because this didn't go my way. Okay, so how did it not go your way? It didn't go my way because I had a plan that I was going to follow. And by now, 6 months out, I should have half of what's on my plan, but I don't. Okay, so now what are we going to do about that? Are you going to stay mad? Are you going to stay huff, gruff, complain, pout? Is that what you're going to do? Or are you going to realize that the plan is not going the way that it should? And then you're going to be adaptable and you're going to make some changes. So that is emotional awareness. Next one is resourcefulness, making the most out of what is available, finding solutions where you others see a problem. What kind of resources do you have? What kind of resources? Are you creative? Can you make nothing, something out of nothing? That's what it is. Can you make something out of nothing? When somebody else sees a disaster, can you fix it? That is what resourcefulness is. The next one is gratitude. We only had one more after gratitude. Next one is gratitude. Focusing what is still good and possible instead of what went wrong. Focusing on what is still good and possible instead of what went wrong. Do you have gratitude? And the last one is vision. Keeping eyes on the long-term goals rather than being consumed by temporary struggles. You know how they say, keep your eyes on the prize. Keep your eyes on the prize. No matter what comes, keep your eyes on the prize. That is what this is, vision. You have a long-term goal set. Yes, these 5 things happened that derailed you a little bit, but you still have your eye on that long-term goal. You're still trying to make that outcome happen. That is the vision. So now you were supposed to be taking notes. You were supposed to be writing down the traits that you do possess and then the ones that you do not have. And you were supposed to be writing down the definition so that you can build and grow upon it. Now, for those who are following along, I want you to drop in the chat. You can either drop in a chat one that you possess, you say possess and what it is, or one that you're working towards. I want to know, what trait do you have as an overcomer? And as this session goes on, we're going to build upon all of it. Now, the next segment is identifying obstacles to overcoming. Identifying obstacles. We're always going to identify obstacles when we're talking about our different sessions because we got to know what the obstacles are in order to overcome them. We got to know what the obstacles are in order to reach our goals because those obstacles come, we don't want them to blindside us. We don't want it to come and then we're like, what now? No, we already need to understand what they are so that way we have tactic strategies in place to be victorious in what it is that we're setting out to do. So now, for obstacles for being an overcomer, we have fear of failure, negative self-talk, comparison with others, setbacks and disappointments, and lack of support. Now we're going to go through each one of these. We're going to go through each one of these. Now, before we go through each one of these, I want you to ask yourself, which of these 5 challenges show up most in your life right now? Which of these 5 challenges show up most in your life? Is it fear of failure? Is it negative self-talk? Comparisons with others? Setback and disappointment? Or lack of support? Which of these 5 challenges show up most in your life right now? I want you to hold on to it. If you want to drop it in the chat, feel free. First one we have is fear of failure. When we talk about fear of failure, people avoid certain situations, certain things that might interest them because they are afraid of failing. Why? Because when they fail, they feel they're going to be embarrassed. They don't want that embarrassment. It's going to make them feel as though they're not good enough. So when you have a fear of failure, you are avoiding things. You're avoiding things. Now, fear can freeze you and it can make you stop in your tracks. And then it can make you also doubt and question what it is that you have set up for yourself. And we don't want that. We don't want you to be afraid to move on. We don't want you to be afraid to grow. We don't want you to be afraid to explore and try new things. But with fear can grip people so badly that they are afraid. And it's just the fact of, I don't want to embarrass myself. I don't want to prove to everybody else that I couldn't do this. I don't feel as though I'm worthy of this. Those are things that people who struggle with fear of failure, they say to themselves. They also might say, nobody in my family has accomplished this. So why is it that I think I can accomplish this? Or why is it that I think I can have these things? Because you're looking back at your family line. But remember, your family line is not you. Just because they were not able to accomplish those tasks doesn't mean that you are not equipped and you have the skill and the mindset to accomplish those tasks. So I just want you to remember that failure isn't the end. Failure isn't the end. You are not going to succeed at everything that you try. So I need you to get that in your mind. You will not succeed at everything that you try. So I want you to stop and think. Go back to some things that you tried that you did not succeed at and try to figure out why you didn't. Why did you not fail? I mean, why did you not succeed at those things? Because sometimes they're meant to teach you something. They're meant to teach you something or it's meant to redirect you. Remember what I said, setbacks. Some setbacks are meant to redirect you. So I don't want you to think of it as I am a failure. I can't accomplish this. I want you to think of it as I can accomplish, I can set out whatever I set out to do, I can obtain. So we want to negate that fear of failure. Now, I'm going to give you some strategies on how you can work around the fear of failure. So that way, eventually, you will not have that feeling of, I am not enough, I am not worthy. Yes, we're going to go through situations where we're going to have embarrassing moments. That is life. That is life. But it's what you do after that embarrassing moment that matters. So I want you to realize that as well. So now, if you are setting out to accomplish a task, I want you to break down big goals into smaller ones, manageable steps. So that way you have micro wins. So along the way, you have micro wins and it builds your confidence. Next, I want you to write down what went wrong. If you were doing something and then you had a upset, a hiccup, write down what went wrong and what did you learn from it. And then the last step for this is visualize success. Picture what it would feel like to achieve it instead of fearing the worst. Because a lot of times we can paint these pictures in our heads. And instead of us tr- visualizing what it is that we want, we visualize everything that can go wrong. We pick out every single scenario in our head and we let it play. We let it run like it's a movie in our head. And it's almost like we're trying to figure out like which one should we choose? Like which outcome should we choose? Which one of these videos should we let play out that's going to lead to our success? But I want you to start visualizing the win, visualizing what it is that you want, visualizing how you achieved it. And then I want you to work towards getting it. That is what I want you to do. Next one is negative talk, negative self talk. This is us talking about ourselves. This is not other people speaking negatively about us. This is us. So we are our worst critic. We are our worst critic. But what I want us to do is refrain from being our worst critic because we need to build ourselves up. We need to show ourselves grace. We need to love on ourselves. We need to speak positivity to ourselves. So if you're one of those ones who always say, I can't do this, I'm not capable of this, I'm not smart enough, I'll never succeed at this, you are speaking negatively over yourself. And when you do that, you are causing self-doubt. You're lowering your self-esteem. And that is not what we want. We want you to be able to build yourself up. So now, soon as you speak negatively about yourself, I want you to catch it and realize, oh no, that's not what we're going to be doing. So I want you to catch it. That's the first thing to reverse this action. Catch it. Every time the thought comes, every time you say it out of your mouth, I want you to catch it. Then I want you to challenge it. Is this true about me? No, this is not true about me. I can do all things. I am an overcomer. I will succeed at this. I am going to try. I might make mistakes, but I'm going to continue to try. And then I want you to change it. Instead of saying, I can't do this, I will do this. I may make mistakes along the way, but I will do this. I will learn from it. That is what I want you to do for the negative self-talk. Next one is comparing ourselves to others. Yep. Every week we talk about this. Comparing ourselves to others. Looking at others' progress or success can create feelings of being behind, inadequate, and less valuable. Right now, social media is the worst for it because before social media and the internet, we didn't know what everybody was doing. You know how you sit and you should think, oh, I wonder what such and such is doing. You might have had a thought about a high school friend, elementary childhood friend. I wonder how they're doing. But now you can look on social media. If that individual is one who shares their entire life, it is there for you to see. And then that's how people start comparing, like, wow, we went to school together how long ago? It was 15 years ago. Oh, and they did all of this, and look at where I am. That is when we start comparing ourselves. That is when we start being our worst critic. That is when we don't give ourselves grace. We don't give ourselves any understanding about what was going on in our lives. So we need to stop comparing ourselves to others. We need to be able, instead, we need to limit our exposure to the unhealthy triggers. You know what triggers you, what makes you feel like you are less than. So you need to limit those exposures. So stop going to those places. So, for example, if you know social media is a trigger for you, stop going to social media. Limit how many times you go on there. Because you know, we can go in there and start scrolling. Next thing you know, 10, 15, 20 minutes went by. So I want you to think about that. Next, I want you to track down your own progress week by week. Write down some things that you made progress on that you are proud of yourself about and just track it and acknowledge it. Share it with others. That way, it's going to build your confidence. Next time, last one for that one is don't say this is not possible for me. Say it is possible. And I'm going to work towards obtaining it. All right, we have setbacks and disappointments. Setbacks and disappointments. Now, we all know that our life is not perfect. So we all have setbacks. We all have disappointments. We have all planned out some plans and we hope that they will come true. And some of them did not come true. And so therefore we're sitting and we're sad and we're moaning and we're upset. That is life. That is life. It is okay to be upset. It is okay to be upset. Just like my daughter, I keep telling her the 6 year, is she 6 or 7? I think she's 7. Yeah, I keep telling her, you can't sit around and mope around about things that you don't have or things that you want. You have to figure out ways to work towards it and be grateful for what you have at this time. Be grateful for what you have at this time. And her response, I know, but no, we're not going to do that. I know, but be grateful for what you have at this time. So, what are some things that you can be grateful for at this time? So, stop focusing on the negative, stop focusing on the things that didn't go right. Be grateful for the moment and the things that you have at this time. So, I want you to pause and process. Pause and process. Allow yourself to feel the disappointment before bouncing back. Remember, we talked about that resilience, that bouncing ball. You throw the ball at the wall, it should bounce back at you. And that's what you should do, bounce back. Now, you can also write down 3 things that the setback taught you. 3 things that the setback taught you. And that can go back to the list that we talked about earlier. Like, do you have adaptability? If that setback taught you that you are not able to adjust and find new ways to maneuver around things, that means you need to figure out how can you learn to be adaptable. The setback might have told you that you don't have resourcefulness. Resourcefulness. That means making the most out of what you have. So that means you need to learn how to be resourceful. So every time you have a setback, you need to stop and think, what is this teaching me? What is it teaching me? It might be teaching you about yourself. It might be teaching you about the others that are in your environment. It might be teaching you about your basic environment. Like maybe this is not the environment that I should be in. I keep having these stumbling blocks and these setbacks because the environment I am in is not benefiting me and my growth. This environment is holding me back. So that might be one of them. And then you have the people that you surround yourself with. Are these people who are going to build you up? Are they going to motivate you? Are they uplifting you? Or are they trying to keep you in this place that they knew you from 10 years ago, 15, 20 years ago? So anytime you share with them, this is one thing I want you to think about. The people who you surround yourself with. If you share with them an idea that you have, a vision that you have, something that you want to work towards that's going to help you grow. And if you share this idea with these individuals and they have something negative to say about it, I want you to stop and think, are these the people who I want in my corner? Because I'm trying to go somewhere and they want me to stay where I am. So I want you to think about that because sometimes we have setbacks because of the people that we have in our circles. So it can be your environment for a setback. It can be the people that's in your circle. It can be your mental state that could cause a setback. It could be your mental state because where are you mentally? Are you in a place where you can handle the situation? Are you in a proper mindset where the things that are coming at you, you can receive it and then figure out how you're going to go forth? Or are you in a mental state that this obstacle is going to come at you and then you're just going to shut down? So sometimes our mental state has a lot to do with our setbacks. Because remember, we always want to be growing. We always want to be growing. We do not want obstacles to come and then it stops our growth. Because we should always be growing. We should always be learning. We should always be moving forward. So I want you to think about that as well. Now, our last topic for the obstacles is lack of support. And this almost kind of touches on your circle and your environment. So, lack of support. Not everyone has cheerleaders in their corner. Some face indifferences, criticism, or optimism. See, there you go. So, if you have those people who always criticize you, I want you to think about those people like, is this what I want? Now, without encouragement, it is easy to give up, and then you start to isolate yourself. And then you try to push forward, but you're like, I'm not going to tell them because I know every time I say something to them, they have something negative to say. But in the process of you not telling that person, you're holding back your own success because you want to shout it to the mountaintop. I did this. I accomplished this. And you can't because you already know the people in your circle are going to criticize you. They're going to look at you a certain type of way. So I want you to think about that for lack of support. Now, support can be built. All you have to do is seek out some mentors. You can join different groups, find some people who are going to hold you accountable. You can also journal to hold yourself accountable. Celebrate, 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 celebrate. Self celebrate and celebrate those small accomplishments. That is something that you can do for support. You're building yourself up until you're able to find that actual group on the outside to build you up. You are building yourself up. Because and that's one thing we need to realize. You need to be able to be proud of yourself before somebody else tells you they're proud of you. Because if you're not proud of yourself and you're able to say, yes, I did that and acknowledge that accomplishment, when somebody else tells you that, you're going to question them. You're going to be like, why did you say that? And if this is you right now and you just recently did this, I want you to think about it. Somebody said, oh my goodness, that was so good. I am so proud of you. You have come a long way. And in your head, you're looking like, I don't know why you saying that. Like, I come a long way. What you mean I come a long way? I'm still where I was 10 years ago. So that means you don't think highly of yourself. So you have to build yourself up in order to be able to receive those acknowledgments from somebody else. So that is something I want you to work on as well. Okay, so now we're going to move on. Before I do that, ask yourself this. Which of the 5 challenges shows up most in your life right now? Which of those 5 challenges shows up most in your life right now? And they were fear of failure, negative self-talk, comparison with others, setbacks and disappointments, and lack of support. Which of those five challenges shows up in your life right now? And what I want you to do, choose one strategy to apply this week. Small, consistent changes are what leads to lasting breakthroughs. We talked about breakthroughs last week. So identify one of those five challenges, and I want you to choose one strategy that you're going to work on throughout this week that is going to cause a change, a shift in you. Okay, now we're going to talk about the overcomer mindset. Overcomer mindset. There's the fixed mindset, there's the growth mindset. Fixed mindset is survival mode. You avoid risk, fear of failure. Growth mindset, you see challenges as opportunities. See challenges as opportunities. Now, does this mean that every challenge that comes your way, you be like, yes, a challenge. Yes, 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 a challenge. I want to see an opportunity out of this challenge. No, that is not what we're saying. So if you have a growth mindset, that does not mean every challenge that comes your way, you're all hyped, like, oh my goodness, yes, this challenge came. I'm going to kick this challenge in the butt. No. We are still human. We're still like, oh my goodness, what is going on? Yes, we're going to still go through all of that. We're going to still feel all of the emotions that come with the challenge. But after you feel the emotions that come with the challenge, you're going to stop and you're going to try to figure out, how can I overcome this challenge? How can I overcome this challenge? Now, a person with a fixed mindset, survival mode. They believe their abilities, intelligence, and circumstances are set in stone and cannot be changed. They cannot be changed. This is my life. This is what's going to happen to me. That is it. People who have fixed mindsets, they avoid risk or new challenges. I don't want to look foolish. That is their thing. I don't want to look foolish. They see failures as proof they are not capable. They compare themselves to others. They feel stuck and they stay in their comfort zone because it feels safe and it is even limiting. So I want you to think about that. Fixed mindset individuals, they avoid risk or new challenges because they don't want to look foolish. They see failure as proof they're not capable. Compare themselves to others and feel stuck, and they like to stay in their comfort zone. Now, this is what I want for the fixed mindset individual. I want you to know that your life does not have to be set in stone. Your life does not have to be set in stone, because there are some people out there who feel as though they have been dealt a bad hand. They just feel as though they have been dealt a bad hand, and it's like, this is my life. Nothing good is going to come from it. Where I am is where I'm going to be. I'm not going to find happiness. I'm not going to find love. Nobody is going to love me. Nobody is going to respect me. I am just here in this moment, and this is where I am. And I want you to understand that that is not the truth. That is not the truth. Now, your life can be changed. I don't care who it is. Wherever you are in your life, if you do not like the circumstances that are going on in your life, you can change them. Is it going to be an easy process? No, it's not going to be an easy process. It is going to be difficult because a lot of times we have been doing things from birth. We have been acting the way we act based off of how we saw our family members act. Talking the way we talk based off of how our family members talk. Carrying ourselves based off of how our family members carry themselves. And in the process, somewhere, we tried to find our identity. We tried to figure out who we were, but we still got lost in the family. So now is the time that I want you to truly identify who you are. Who are you? What is it that you want for your life? Not what your family say you should have. Not what your friends say you should have. Not what your children say you should have. Who are you and what is it that you want for your life? This is the changing point. This is the changing point of having that fixed mindset and being in survival mode. I don't want to survive anymore. I don't just want to be here, dwelling, going through the same thing every day. I want to thrive. I want to grow. I want to obtain more. So that is what I want for you all. I want you all to feel that I want to obtain more. I want better. And in order to do better, we have to do something to change what it is that's happening in our life. We have to be able to change the environment, the people. We have to do something. There has to be a change. So I want you to stop and think, who are you? Who are you? For everyone who is listening, watching, ask yourself the question, who am I? And what do I want out of my life? Who am I and what do I want out of my life? Write it down. I told you today was going to be a pencil and paper day. So I want you to write that down. Who am I and what do I want out of my life? And I want you to be truthful about it. Be truthful about it. Write down all the things that you want out of your life. So if it's, I want to be financially stable, I want a better job, I want to feel loved, I want to have great success. Whatever it is, I want you to write it down because after you write it down, we're going to identify, or you're going to try to identify some steps that you can work towards moving towards this person that you want to be. Because for too long, we have been the person that everybody else wants us to be. Now it is time for you to be that person that you want to be. No more living under the shadows of your family members. No, no more of that. You are going to be living for you. You are going to find what makes you happy, what makes you thrive, and you're going to go from it for it. So that means from today on, what is today? Today is October the 4th, 2025. So on October the 4th, 2025, you have written down on a piece of paper who you are. You wrote down what it is that you want to obtain in life. And you're going to start writing down some steps, some action plans that is going to help you to get there. Once again, this is not going to be an easy task. This is not going to be an easy task because with this comes a lot of change. But in the process of the change, there is going to be growth. You have to identify those situations in your life that you don't want anymore. Write them down. The situations in your life where you wanted to improve upon, write it down. And then you need to figure out what it is that you want and work towards it. Now, that was for fixed mindset, and there was some other things included in there. Now we're talking about the growth mindset, the overcomer mindset. The overcomer believes that they can learn, grow, and adapt. So that is what you're moving towards. You're moving towards being an overcomer, having a growth mindset. You're going to take the risk. Once again, you're going to take the risk because change is not easy. So take the risk. Yes, you're going to have to leave some things behind. Yes, it's going to have to hurt. Yes, you're going to cry about it. Yes, some things that you are dealing with inside of you, you're going to have to work on. Yes, it's going to be hard. No, you don't want to pull all of that stuff out. No, you don't want to acknowledge all of that stuff, but you have to in order for you to get better. So you might have to sit down and take record, take note of the things that happened in your childhood. Those things that traumatized you, those things that caused you pain, those things that were kind of like a blueprint in your life to where you are now. I don't know. It could have been verbal abuse, physical abuse. It could have been just feeling neglected. Whatever it was, disappointment after disappointment after disappointment, whatever it was, you need to take a record of it, take a note of it, identify what it is. And then you need to realize that you're not going to allow these things to stop you from moving forward. Yes, they happened. They were there. It was difficult. It hurt, but you're going to move forward from that. So now you are in the overcomer mindset. You're in the mindset that I'm going to learn from this. I am going to grow from this. I'm going to take the risk to be better. I don't see failure. Everything that happened in my past was not a failure. It was just a learning experience. And what did I learn from that learning experience? I learned that. At that moment, I was not capable of understanding what was going on. But now, as I look back on it, I see all of the things that were damaging that happened. I see how I had low self esteem. I see how I let the disappointments and the past failures hang over my head. I see how I allowed them to torment me. I see how I wanted things and I didn't obtain them. So I'm trying to seek them from others instead of me obtaining them for myself. Because I now I know that once I better myself, I love on myself, I identify what I want for myself, those who come around me have to come in line with that. So that means I'm not going to be accepting any old thing from now on because that was a problem for me. I just allowed any old thing to come in my presence, to come in my environment, to participate in what it is that I'm participating in. But no, I set standards now. I have standards. So these are my standards. And if you do not fall in line with these standards, you cannot be with me at this moment because where I am going, I am seeking something more for me. And in order for me to have that, I have to have people in my corner who understand that. They have to want more for themselves. They want to be able to grow themselves. So those are some things. So yes, take the risk. Take the risk. Speak the truth and work on it. Focus on progress over perfection. Everything is not going to be perfect. Nobody is perfect. What is the progress that you're making? Day to day, what is the progress are you making? If you're a person who always says yes to things, did you say no today for something? What is the progress that you are making? Push past your comfort zone. Push past the comfort zone. Yes, it is. Try to figure out a better word. It's just not a pleasant place to be when you push past your comfort zone. But once you push past your comfort zone, you realize that you are more than you thought you were. You are capable of handling more. You can do better. So push past your comfort zone. Allow yourself to thrive. Allow yourself to grow. Allow yourself to experience all of the hidden joys that you did not give yourself the chance to experience because you felt that you weren't worthy of it. You weren't capable of it. You weren't lovable. You weren't able to maintain it. Allow yourself to experience those things. So that is what is having a growth mindset is. Now, this is the key difference. Fixed mindset says, I can't handle this. If I fail, it means I'm not good enough. Growth mindset, this is hard, but it's an opportunity to learn and get stronger. So which one do you want? Do you want to learn and get stronger? Or you want to continue to say that I'm not good enough? Which one do you want? What category do you find yourself in? I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. I can't do this. Or this is hard, but I'm going to learn from this. I'm going to grow from this. I'm going to get stronger. Which one do you see yourself as? And this is the reflection question for you. Do I see this obstacle as a wall or a stepping stone? Do I see this obstacle as a wall or a stepping stone? And what that means is if the wall is there, you're not going anywhere. You walked into the wall, you have to stop. If it's a stepping stone, you're stepping on one stone to get to the next stone to cross the pond. So imagine you have the stones inside of the little pond and you're trying to get to the other side. How are you going to get there? It's water, it's stones. Are you going to say, I can't? Or are you going to decide you're going to step on those stones step by step, little by little? You're going to take that chance. Yes, you might slip off the stone. Yes, you might get wet. Yes, you might fall in the water. Oh, you can't swim, but guess what? The water's not that deep. It's not that deep. You can stand. It might cover you a little bit. It might come to your knees, might come to your waist, might come to your chest, but it's not going to drown you. So I want you to think about that. Are the obstacles a wall or are they a stepping stone? And hopefully you're saying they are a stepping stone. I can get over this. I can get through this. Are you waiting for the storm to pass? Are you just standing there waiting for the storm to pass, or are you going to actually go through and weather the storm? Yes, these are some cliche terms, but they work at the moment. They work at the moment. If you can catch it, catch it. So I want you to think about that. Now, we have a little bit of time left in this segment. So I want you to, we're going to talk about tools and strategies very, very quickly. Some of these we already mentioned. Some tools and strategies to overcome. We have reframe setbacks, meaning ask yourself, what is the lesson here? Instead of saying, okay, this has happened, I'm done. No, what is the lesson? What is the lesson? Because there are a lot of times things happen, and I'm like, okay, God, what are you trying to tell me? What are you trying to tell me? And then sometimes he'll come and be like, I'm not trying to tell you anything. It's not about you, it's about the other people around you. And then he's showing me some things. Or it might just be silence because it's something that I'm did and it's just like so blatantly obvious. And it's like it's right there in your face, like, look, look. So reframe setbacks. What's the lesson here? Next one, take small steps. Take small steps. Focus on progress, not perfection. Because a lot of time we want to change. We try to take these huge, gigantic steps, and that setback is greater than what we expected. So if you take the smaller steps, you can see more clearly with every step that you're taking. So that way, if you took the first two steps and something worked out, it's like, okay, I'm gonna take the third step, but then you can see what's on the horizon and you're able to maneuver around it. So take small steps. Next one is build resilience, meaning you need to be able to bounce back. How are you going to bounce back? You're going to bounce back. Self-care. Self-care, you can bounce back if you can start incorporating self-care. Bounce back by prayer. If you're praying, God can give you some answers. He's going to give you the strength that you need. You're able to bounce back. Bounce back by identifying who you are. Identifying who you are. Because a lot of times, it's not a lot of times, all the times, you need to be able to identify who you are. Because if you continue to allow people to speak over you and people to say who you are, you're always working towards a false goal. And what you're working towards needs to be something that you want and not what others want for you. So that is how you bounce back. Self-awareness. Next one is having a support system. You can have a support system around you, those who encourage you, uplift you, motivate you. And last one, celebrate the wins. Celebrate the wins. No matter how small they are, celebrate the wins. High five yourself, treat yourself to some dinner, treat yourself to some clothes, spend the money, always make you feel good. But remember, you got to stay on that budget. So celebrate the wins. Now, this is another activity I want you to do. I want you to list your top three strengths. List your top three strengths. And then I want you to identify, how can I use these strengths to face my current obstacles? List your top three strengths and identify, how can I use these strengths to face my current obstacles? So now, if you are a encourager, that is your strength, and you have this obstacle, how can you use that to overcome this obstacle? Because a lot of times we can encourage other people, but we don't encourage ourselves. So now you need to start encouraging yourself. You need to start encouraging yourself. If you're that type of person who you like to speak positive over other people, or you're just good at speaking, period, how can you use that to overcome this obstacle? So I want you to identify three strengths, and then I want you to write down how those strengths can help you overcome a current obstacle that you're facing in your life. And then the last thing that I want you to do, I want you to visualize what it is that you want. And then I want you to picture the biggest challenge that you have. So visualize what it is that you want. I want you to picture the biggest challenge that you have. What is that challenge? Now I want you to imagine you are overcoming that challenge. Imagine you are overcoming that challenge. How do you feel in that moment that you overcame that challenge? How do you feel? Who's with you while you're overcoming that challenge? Who was there? And what changed? What changed that allowed you to overcome that challenge? And then I want you to write down the words that describe your overcomer self. Write down the words that describe your overcomer self. So you had to visualize what it is that you wanted, visualize the challenge, imagine you overcoming it, identify how did you feel, who was with you, what changed, and then write down one word that describes your overcomer self. Were you empowered, invigorated? Were you refreshed? What was it? Write down that word. And this is just a motivational tool to get you to start to move, to get you to be that change that you want to be. Now, remember, being an overcomer doesn't mean that your life is easy. It means that you refuse to give up. You're rising above the situation. You are stronger. So I want you to remember that as you go throughout this day, you go throughout the next week. You're an overcomer. You're going to rise above it. You are stronger than you think. Now, I want to thank all of those who tuned in today. Thank you to my WMEG listeners. Thank you to Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Thank you for tuning in. I hope that this session today was beneficial to you, that you can walk away and say that I am an overcomer. I will be an overcomer. I am going to use these tools and these strategies to help me to grow and to thrive. And until next week, I want you all to be blessed and be your best self. So once again, thank you for tuning in, and I hope that you all have a great week.
Empower others to excel. Your host, Jacqueline Job. Empowering others to excel with your host, Jacqueline Job. Are you ready to be transformed? I'm here to uplift, encourage, motivate, and inspire. Empowering others to excel with your host, Jacqueline Jobs.